in the meeting this evening. Mr. Henry Gerhard had a proposal which I greatly admire. I admire his proposal and I admire his volunteer spirit. It's the kind of uniquely civic American civic spirit noted by Alexis de Tocqueville in the mid-1800s when he said, you know, Americans don't wait for government to solve a problem. When they have a problem, the community gets together and they decide what to do about it and they do it. Thank you for restoring my confidence in this country. Mr. Rothschild, and I see he's not here yet, still here. Mr. Councilman Delavar was kind enough to correct my misapprehension about the state constitution with the exception for the poor and the infirm. I wasn't aware of that exception. That still doesn't mean that it's the city's mission to support that operation, nor does it necessarily mean that it's a good idea, but it is allowable under state law. And Mr. Boland, I agree on the need for the mission statement, and specifically I like your comment that it can be used as a guideline to develop the budget and decide what to spend the money on. I think that's real insight that the council needs, and we need to focus in the coming year on getting a mission statement. And what I'm looking for in a mission statement is 2 sentences that lay out what are the primary functions of the city, the services that we provide, among them water, sewer, stormwater, police, fire, these types of things. And then everything that comes forward, we look at that and say, does it support these critical functions? If it doesn't, then it's not approved until we find out that we've got extra money, and then we can compete for that. A constituent suggested to me this week that, and I think mid-year would be the time to do it, we take what money we can identify that we might have left over and announce that we will allow the public to compete for grants for projects. And all these agencies can come in and compete for those funds. But the budget and the mission statement, the budget should be determined by the mission statement. And that gives us a measuring tool to measure each proposition that comes forward. The other thing I would note is that as a council, we've not done particularly well in looking at not only the present but the future. We've said this is a good idea, we're going to support it. We didn't look 6 to 12 months down the road and say, gosh, you know, we're not going to have the money for this. And we've already spent it. Now we're going to have to take the money from somewhere else. We're looking at layoffs or terminating something else that may be more worthwhile than the original project. So every project has not only a present value but a future value, and the mission statement aids in determining that also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Molly?
Yes, just a couple of things. With regard to the Children's Home Society, I did receive a call from Mayor Les Sonesson last week after the information was published in the Post-Record. So he gave me a historical perspective on why how that building was acquired and under what circumstances it was acquired and for what use it was acquired, and how the Children's Home Society actually came to be the umbrella organization to kind of oversee the maintenance of that program over there, which has a number of different agencies that are in there. So it was actually very interesting, and we did acquire that building, according to Mayor Sonesson, through at a very reduced rate through from the Southwest Washington Medical Center, the hospital, because the owner of the previous owner of that building, who was a medical doctor, had fallen ill, had died as a result of that, and because he had so many medical bills, that building was acquired by the hospital, and the hospital, the city bought that building not at a greatly reduced rate, much less than the the market value, with the balance considered a donation from the hospital with the intent to provide medical and family and community assistance to low-income families in East County. So there's some historical perspective on how that building was acquired. With regards to the Children's Home Society, I'm not saying it's the perfect agency, but there was no agency that was willing to come in and oversee all of the different sub-agencies that were in that building until the Children's Home Society came in and said, yes, we'll step forward and do that. So that's some historical perspective on that. I haven't fact-checked it to make sure that that's all accurate, but that was the mayor's recollection. It gave me a good understanding of some background. And secondly, I've been kind of working and exploring other cities in Washington and how they post policies that have to do with council conduct, council meetings, council appointments, email, council vacancies, a lot of different things. And I would like the Code and Policy Committee to start reviewing a lot of those because I've found some extremely good material. It's posted on their public websites, a number of it. And I think it would help, it would really facilitate our working as a council and as a whole to have some of those guidelines very clear. So I would like to think that in the next 6 months or 8 months that we can start to work to develop some of those policies, establish some of those, and to publish them so that we all understand where the level playing field is. And I think it's fair. It just seems like the right thing to do. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Dr. Stefan was a wonderful person, by the way. John?
Question. I noticed that in your mayor's report you have CTRAN RTC council appointments discussion. Will you be allowing council to dialogue with you during that time, or is that something we need to do now?
That's where I was going to when we came back to council comments.
Okay,
So we can do it
perfect.
that way.
All right, thank you.
Yep. But yes, David?
Apparently, the acquisition of the building across the street was rather informally handled, and I understand that things were done that way in the past. I would ask that the council and the mayor not do that sort of thing in the future. If we're going to acquire something, I'd like to see the agreement set down in writing and either taken care of by the administration or brought to the council for approval. I don't want to see backroom deals dominate our dealings and make us subject to agreements years in the future. I'd like to see what those agreements are and have them in writing. Thank you.
Bud?
Mr. Mayor, between Councilman Delavar on the Roberts Rules of Orders and our city attorney, you brought up, it was brought up here earlier about having the mayor pro tem run the meeting while you're sitting here. Would you guys, both of you, give me your opinion on why that's appropriate and in what cases we would use that at a later time? Seemed inappropriate to me.
I can completely understand. One of the potential avenues that I was preparing to do was asking for some form, well, depending on whether there was enough discussion or whether there would be a discussion about those items, to ask potentially for verbal reprimand of the mayor. And that would be inappropriate